Alright, subpart C, Administration Certificate Program. 242.201, time limitation and certification after the printed date for 242.105 DE, and the railroad shall not certify or recertify as a pertinent conductor any type of the service of the railroad, making a determination concerning eligibility under statute 242.11.1, 11.3, 11.15, 11.403 with the eligibility tab with relied on the first day of the 365 days before the railroad certification decision. Determination concerning the visual hearing acuity with the medical examination being is relied on with the conducting more than 450 days before the date of the railroad certification decision. Determination concerning the demonstration of the knowledge has knowledgeable examination be relied on with the data. One of the conductors more than 360 days before the day of the railroad certification. Determination for the concern with the demonstration of the knowledge examination being relied on with the conductor more than 24 hours before the day of the railroad recertification decision with the railroad administrator of the knowledge test for program pursuant to 242.121 with the intervals not exceeding 24 months. Time limitation paragraph on the A of the section does not apply to the railroad with making the certification to the line for the determination of the railroad in accordance with paragraph C3 of this section with the 242, 125, and 127 that no railroad shall permit and require of the person designated on 242, 105 A and B with the purpose of informed service for the certified conductor for more than 36-month period before pertinent date of the compliance with the mandatory procedure for the test and evaluation set forth in the applicable provision of the statute 242, 105 D and E, unless the person has been determined that eligible in accordance with the procedure that comply with the subpart B of this paragraph part. Certify the person with the conductor for the interval of more than 36 months. Relay on the certification issue with another railroad is in more than 36 months old, except the fine person from statute 242.105 is concerned with the initial implementation of the program. Railroad shall issue with each with the designated with the certified with the conductor certified and certificate that comply with the statute 242.207 no later than 30 days from the date of the decision with the certify the recertify the person. 242.203, the retaining information supply supporting documentation after the date of the 242.105 D of the railroad certified and revoked for the certificate after making the determination required in the statute 242.109. So maintain a record of each of the certified conductor with the apply with the certification that contained with the information relied on the making the determination. Railroad shall retain with the following information: relevant data with the prior is concerned with the parent person's prior with the safety conduct. Relative to the data furnished by the another railroad, relevant data furnished by the governmental agency concerned with the person's motor vehicle driver, the relevant data furnished by the person seeking the certification concerned with his or her eligibility, the relevant test for data of the conducting hearing, visual acuity, and 6 applicable the relevant data with the concern with the professional opinion of the railroad medical examiner of the adequacy of the person's hearing and the visual acuity. 7. The relevant data from the railroad's record concerning with the person's success, failure of the passage of the knowledge test under statute 242.121. The sample of the copy of the written knowledge test and test administrative relevant data for the railroad's person records concerned with the person with the successful failure of the unannounced operation of the railroad rules complying with the testing of the railroad performed to monitor the conductor's performance in accordance with the statute 242.123 if the railroad is relying on successful completion of an improved training program conducted with another entity with the railroad shall maintain a record of each with the certified conductor that contains the relevant data with the furnishment of the training and entity with the concerning with the performance of a person's demonstration with the knowledge and relies on the railroad in making the determination. D. If the railroad is relying on the certification decision initial made by another railroad, the relying on the railroad shall make a record of each with the certified conductor that contains the relevant data furnished with the other railroad with the railroad on making its determination. All records required under this section shall be retained for the period of 6 years for the day of the certification, recertification, denial, revocation of the decision shall be made with available the FRA request represented upon the request of normal business hours. If it shall be unlawful any of the railroads and knowingly any individual willfully make the cause to made with the participate making the false entry when the records required with the section otherwise falsely suggests such records with a material misstatement, omission with a mutilation. Nothing in this section precludes the railroad with maintaining the information required for the retain under the section A and electrical format provided. The railroad. 1. The railroad maintains an information technology security program and adequate to ensure the integrity of the electronic data storage, including the prevention of unauthorized access of the project logical and individual records. The program data storage security has been protected by a security system utilized with the employee identification number and password or a comparable method to establish the appropriate level of the program access, meaning allowing the following standards. No two individuals have the same electronic identity. The record cannot be deleted or altered by an individual after the record is certified by the employee who created the record. 3. Any amendment to record that is either electronically stored or part of the record that is amended electronically attached with the record information without changing the original record. The amendment that may record the person unique and identified with the person making the amendment. 5. The system employed with the railroad data storage permits the reasonable access for the retrieval of the information for the usable format when the request for the furnished data for the FRA representative. 6. Information retrieved with the system can easily be produced with the printed format that can be readily provided with the FRA representative in a timely manner, authenticated by the designated representative of the railroad. It is true with the accurate copy of the railroad's records if requested to do so. The FRA is represented. 242-205, identification of the certified person and record keeping. After September 1st, 2012, the railroad shall maintain a list of identifying the person that designated with the certified conductor. This list will indicate with the type of the certificate of the railroad determine that each of the person authorized to perform date of the railroad certification is decision. If the railroad employee conductor working with a joint operation territory listed and included with the person determined with the railroad to be certified as a conductor possessing the necessary territorial qualification for each of the applicable territory in accordance with the statute 242-301. The list required for the paragraph of the A, B, and section shall be updated at least annually and be available to the divisional regional headquarters of the railroad and be available to inspection from the copy of the FRA during the regular business hours. It should be unlawful for any of the railroads and only an individual willfully making the cause made of the participate in the making of the false entry on the list required by this section or otherwise falsify with such a list of the material misstatement, the omission, of the mutilation. Nothing in this section precludes the railroad maintaining the list of the required for the section in electronic format, provided that railroad maintains an information technology security program adequate to ensure the integrity of the electronic data storage, including the prevention of the unauthorized access to the program logic or test list. The program and data storage system must be protected by the security of the system, utilize the employee identification number, the password, or comparable method to establish the appropriate level of the program and access meeting along the following standards. No two individuals have the same electronic identity. Entry of the list cannot be deleted or altered any of the individual after the entry has notified the employee who has created an entry. Any amendment to the list of either electronic stored apart from the entry of the list that amends for the electronically attached to the entry of the list for the information for the other changing original entry. Each amendment to the list then equally identifies the person making the amendment to 5. The system employed with the railroad data storage permits responsible access retrieval for the information usable format when the requested furnished data for the FRA representative. 6. Information retrieved from the system can be easily produced with the provided format and they can be readily provided by the FRA representative in a timely manner authenticated by the designated representative of the railroad as true, accurate copy of the railroad's records if requested to do so by the FRA representative. 242-207, certificate components. Each certificate issued compliance with this part shall 1. Identify with the railroad or the parent company with the issue. 2. The indicate with the railroad acting with the conformity with the part of the determined with the person to whom the being issued with has been determined to the eligible to perform as conductor as a passenger conductor. 3. Identify the person to whom it is being issued. They include the person's name and employee with identification number, the year of the birth, either physical and description of the photograph of the person. Identify any of the condition limitation, including the type of the service, condition, amyloid, vision, hearing, acuity, deficiency, the restrict of the person's operational authority should have the effect of the day of each of the certification is held. Be assigned to individual designated in the accordance with the paragraph B of this section. Be sufficiently small size to permit the parent being carried in the ordinary pocket watch, wallet. B. Each rail shall designate writing in person with the authorized to sign the certificate described in this section. The designation shall identify such person by the name and the job title. Nothing in the paragraph A of this section shall permit any of the railroad for including additional information on the certificate, supplement with the certificate through the other documents shall be unlawful for any of the railroads knowingly and any individual and willfully may cause to be made with the participate in the making of the false entry on the certificate, otherwise falsify the certification through material misstatement, omissions, mutilation. Statute 242-209, mainly for the certifications. Each conductor who has received the certificate required under this part shall have the certificate in his or her possession while on duty as a conductor. Display the certificate upon his receipt of the request to do so from a representative of the Federal Railroad Administration, State Inspector authorized under Part 212 of this chapter, and if officer issuing with the railroad, an officer in another railroad while serving as a conductor in joint operation territory, and B, any conductor who is notified that they called to serve the conductor such as the service would cause the conductor to exceed certificate limitations set forth in accordance with the subpart B of the part railroad shall immediately notify the railroad that he or she is not authorized to perform the anticipated service that it shall be unlawful for the railroads to require no such service. Nothing in this section shall be deemed unaltered. Certified conductors duly comply with the other provisions of the chapter concerning the railroad safety. All right, 242-211, the replacement of the certificate. The railroad shall have the system of the prompt replacement of lost or stolen, mutilated certificate, not a copy of the conductor of the system shall be reasonably accessible to the certified conductor and need the replacement certificate, the temporary replacement certificate. At a minimum, temporary replacement certificate must be identified by the person being issued with including the person's name, the identification number, the year of the birth, and indicating the date of the issuance to be authorized by the designated supervisor. Is there a temporary replacement certificate may be delivered electronically and or valid for the person no greater than 30 days. 214, 242, 213, multiple certification. Person may holding multiple certification, multiple site conductor service that may be to hold both conductor locomotive engineering certification. The railroad that issued the multiple certificate and the person shall have, to the extent of the possible, coordinate with the expiration date of those certificates. Subject provided in paragraph D of the section of locomotive of the engineer included the remote control operative who is operating a locomotive without a assigned certification must either be certified as both a locomotive engineer under the Part 240 with the chapter and as a conductor under this part, accompanied with a person certified with the conductor under this part with who will be attached to the crew with a manner of similar to that of the independent assignment. It's E, the passenger railroad operation. If the conductor is removed from the train or the medical police or other emergencies after the train departs, the initial terminal of the train may proceed with the first location where the conductor can be replaced without occurring with undue delay with the locomotive of the engineer being certified conductor. However, the assistant conductor or the brakeman must be also on the train. The locomotive engineer must be informed that there is no certified conductor on the train prior to any movement. F. During the duration, any certificate interval of the person who holds the current conductor and a locomotive engineer certificate from more than 1 year railroad shall immediately notify the other certifying railroad that if he or she denied with the conductor or locomotive engineer recertification on 242-401 and 242-219 with the chapter, his or her conductor or locomotive engineer certification revoked on 242-407 or 243-07 of this chapter being another railroad. Any person who is certified to perform multiple types of conductor certification has an issue for the certification required on the statute 242-407 may perform any type of the conductor service during the period of revocation. Person who holds the current conductor and locomotive engineer certification who has his or her conductor certification revoked under the statute 242-407 for the violation of 242-403 E1 through 5 or E12 may not work as a locomotive engineer during the person period of revocation. However, any person who current conductor and a locomotive engineer certificate who has his or her conductor certification revoked under statute 242-407 for the violation of 242-403 E6 through 11 may work as a locomotive engineer during the period of revocation. For the purpose of the determination of the period with which a person may not be work certified locomotive engineer for the revocation of his or her conductor certification, only violation of 242-403 E1 through 5 and the E12 will be counted. Thus, for the person who holds the current conductor locomotive engineer certificate who has her conductor certification revoked for this 3 times in less than 36 months for the 2 violation of 242-403 E6, one of the violation of 242-403 E1 would have his or her conductor certificate revoked for 1 year, but would not be permitted to work on as a locomotive engineer for 1 month at the period of violation of 1 violation of the 242-403 E1. Alright, any person who holds the current with the conductor locomotive engineer certificate who has had his or her locomotive engineer certification revoked in the statute 242-307 for the chapter may not work as the conductor during the period of the revocation. Any person who has his or her locomotive engineer certificate revoked in the statute 243-07 of this chapter may obtain the conductor certification pursuant to the part during the period of the revocation. K. A person who has his or her conductor certification revoked under statute 242-407 for the violation of 242-403 E1 through 5 of the E12 may not obtain locomotive engineering certificate pursuant to this part 240 with the chapter during the period of revocation. L. A railroad denied the person conductor certification under 242-401 shall not solely with the base for the denial and deny revoke the person locomotive engineer certification recertification. Railroad that denies the person locomotive engineer certificate the certification under 242-19 of this chapter shall not solely when the basis of the denial or deny revoke the person's conductor certification recertification. In lieu of the issuing multiple certificate, the railroad may issue one of the certificates to the person who is certified to perform the multiple type of the conductor certified services is certified as a conductor and a locomotive engineer. The certificate must comply with the statute 242-23 with its chapter 242-207. The person withhold the current conductor locomotive engineer certificate who is involved with the revocable event in 242-407 and 242-307 of the chapter must only have one certificate revoked for the event. Termination of the railroad as whether which the effect which certificate to revoke the revocable event must be passed based on the work of the person was performed at the time of the event occurred. All right, 242-215, Railroad Oversight Responsibility. No more later than March 31st of each of the year, beginning with the calendar year 2014, each Class 1 railroad, including National Railroad Passenger Corporation, with the railroad providing with the commuter service, each Class 2 railroad shall conduct the formal annual review of the analysis concerned with the administrative of the program responsibility to detect and ensure the poor safety conduct of the certified conductors during the prior calendar year. Each review and analysis shall be involved in the number, the nature of the incidents for the detected poor safety conduct, including the nature of the remedial action taken and responsible thereto, the number of the nature of the FRA reported train accidents and attributed to the poor safety of the performance by conductors, the number, the type of the operating and monitoring test failure, record railroad officers who might meet the requirements of 217.9b1 over this chapter. If the railroad conducts a joint operation with another railroad, the number of the conductors employed by the other railroads which were involved in the events described in the paragraph and were determined by the certified to have possessed the necessary territorial qualification for the joint operation purpose of the controlling the railroad. Based on the review, the annual analysis, each of the railroads shall determine with the actions they will take to improve the safety of the railroad operators to reduce and eliminate the future incidents of the nature. If requested, the FRA with the railroad shall provide with the report with the final conclusion reached during each such annual review and analysis effort. I.e., for the reporting purpose of the information of the nature of detected poor safety conduct, it should be capable of the segregation for the study evaluation purposes for the following categories. Incidents involved with noncompliance in Part 218 of the chapter. Incidents involved with noncompliance in Part 219 of the chapter. Incidents involving noncompliance with the procedure for the safety of the use of the train engine brakes when the procedure for the required for the compliance of Class 1, Class A, 1A, Class 2, and Class 3 of the transfer brake test of the provision Part 232 of the chapter. The procedure is also required for the compliance of Class 1, Class 1A, Class 2 with the running brake test provision in the 238 of the chapter. For incidents involving the noncompliance with the railroad operating rules involving operation of the locomotive train operated at speeds that exceed the maximum authorized limit. Incident involved with the noncompliance with the railroad operating rules resulting in operation of the locomotive train past any signal excluding hand radio signals indicating a switch of the required for the complete stop before passing. Incident involving the noncompliance with which the provision with the restricted speed with the operational equivalent thereof there must be reported under the provisions of statute Part 225 of this chapter. Incident involving the occupying main track of the segment of the main track without proper authorization permission for the incident involved with the failure of the comply with the prohibitions against the tampering with the locomotive named locomotive man safety device knowingly operating permitting to be operated with the train within an authorized disability safety device from the controlling locomotives. For the reporting purpose of any incident with the poor safety conduct involving the person who holds both conductor certification pursuant to this part with the locomotive engineering certification pursuant to any part of 240 of the chapter need they only to be reported once each, either at the end of the Title 49, 24309 with this chapter. With this section, the determination is whether to report the incident of the poor safety conduct should be based on the work of the person who performs at the time of the conduct occurred. G. For the reporting of the purpose of each of the category to detect the poor safety conduct identified in paragraph B of this section shall be capable of being announced to reflect the following. The nature of the remedial action taken with the number of events subdivided for the reflect which for the following actions was selected. 1. The imposition of the informal discipline, imposition of formal discipline, and 3. Provision of informal training. 4. The provision of formal training. 2. If the nature of remedial action taken with the formal discipline with the number of the events further subdivided and then reflected without the following sub-punishments was imposed by the railroad. 2. The person was withheld from the service. 2. The person was dismissed from the employment. 3. The person was issued the demerits of more than one form of punishment was imposed. Only that the punishment deemed the most severe shall be shown. Alright, so the reporting purpose of each of the category detected poor safety conduct identified in paragraph B of this section shall be resolved in the imposition formal and informal. The discipline shall be noted to reflect the following: the number of the instances where the railroad internal appeal of the process to produce the punishment initial imposed with the conclusion of this hearing and possible the number of the instances where the punishment imposed with the railroad was reduced at any of the following: any of the National Railroad Adjustment Board, a Public Law Board, a Special Board of Adjustment, and other board body with a resolution of the dispute duly constituted under the provisions of the Railway Labor Act. For the reporting purposes of each of the category detected poor safety conduct identified in paragraph B of this section shall be capable of being noted to reflect the following: the total number of the incidents of the category, the number of the incidents where the total will reflect the incident requiring the FRA incident report with Part 225 of this chapter. The number of the incidents within the total will be detected by a result of the scheduled operational monitoring effects. Subpart D, Territorial Qualifications Joint Operations.